I'm getting really tired of these people.
PSSR though, it completely changes the image and it just resolves so much more detail and cleans up so much noise, and it winds up massively improving the visuals overall, I would say. In what was a somewhat dirty looking game at times, it makes it look super smooth and clean, and it is a gigantic leap. Probably the best implementation I've seen yet, just in terms of improving overall image quality maybe, and stability. Stability is key. It's temporally stable now, whereas before it was not. I think they might have achieved arguably just about the best image quality I've seen in a console game. When you consider the density of the visuals, how much detail is in them, the way it resolves that detail and presents it is so clean and attractive that it's honestly mind-boggling. It feels like you're playing a high-end PC game now, using everything that you could throw at it from the PC side.
Dear people, please stop misquoting reviewers. I've actually seen the PS5 Pro in action myself, and I've read and watched all the major reviews out there. Stop misquoting Digital Foundry. I really don't want to start clipping their work in my videos, but I've sat down and watched every single one of their videos, including the long podcasts. So I know what they're saying.
Again, seeing more areas in that, it makes such a difference. It is so much sharper and cleaner than the original version, and it runs very smooth now. I feel like even with the visual flaws the game has, it just feels much more coherent now, because the muddy, smeary look of the game originally kind of just made the assets that didn't look good, it made them look a lot worse, and it did not elevate the good assets.
If the PS5 Pro isn't for you, that's totally fine. I'm not here to convince anyone to buy it. I'm here to share accurate info and actual facts. There are plenty of critics you can follow if you're looking for that, but this isn't the place for drama and misquotes. Besides what the experts say, I've also shared my personal opinions, and even put together a video with community reviews. And guess what? Most of the feedback has been really positive. And remember, this is just the beginning for the PS5 Pro. Digital Foundry even said, it definitely lives up to the Pro name, with shocking results and beyond expectations in some areas. Yes, I've had my own issues with Digital Foundry's predictions before, but I'd never misquote or attack them on their hands-on analysis. Whether I like it or not, facts are facts. And yeah, I take this a bit personally, not because I'm a Sony fanboy or anything, but because when the PS4 Pro came out, I ended up going with the PS4 Slim due to similar narratives at the time. Things are different now with the price and everything, but at least I know I'm doing my part to help people make an informed choice. If, after watching my videos, you feel the base PS5 is the better option, go for it. Just do it with the right information in hand. We've covered this many times on this channel, and if you've been following, you know the story by now. All right, let's get into the exciting news of the day, and we got a lot to cover, fellas. Let's talk about the big elephant in the room. The console's biggest arch nemesis. Who's that, I hear you ask? Unreal Engine 5. So, the PS5 Pro seems way more capable of handling the demanding Unreal Engine 5 than the base model, as the system runs the demo that first showed what sort of visuals the engine can deliver much better than any other console currently on the market. As shown in a new video shared by PsyQ1, the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 demo runs considerably better on the newly released system than on the base system, without a dedicated patch that would allow the demo to take full advantage of the PS5 Pro's power and features. Resolution changing to keep performance steady is rather noticeable in some sequences, but it is still impressive how the console handles this demanding demo, which uses the very first version of Unreal Engine 5 that lacks many of the improvements that have been introduced over. Let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. When it launched on PS4 back in 2020, it was a total mess, glitches everywhere, constant crashes, but to their credit, CD Projekt Red stuck with it, patching the game until it turned into one of the most immersive and emotionally powerful experiences you can get on PS5. That said, Cyberpunk 2077 still has some minor issues on PS5, with frame rate dips in really busy parts of the map. There are even a few areas where it might crash if you go completely wild with destruction. Push Square had great things to say, but to be fair, most players won't see that. On the PS5 Pro though, it's clear the frame rate holds up better in performance mode. Crowded areas, like V's Mega Building, stay much closer to that 60 FPS sweet spot. It's still not flawless, but any drops are way less noticeable noticeable. You'd have to really push it to see a slowdown. We tested it in high-stress areas like the markets near Vic's Clinic and Corpo Plaza, and even with a cop rampage, everything stayed impressively smooth. We even tried the intense Phantom Liberty expansion spot near Dogtown where the game tends to struggle, and this time it held steady, with no crashes and no serious frame rate issues. If you know how tough that spot can be, you know this is a big win. Next up, Final Fantasy XVI. The 2023 action RPG's performance mode aims for 60 frames per second, and while it does manage to maintain that target in most combat encounters, it's actually during exploration that you'll be hit with some sluggishness on base PS5. Visiting as many different locales as we could on our endgame save, we're happy to report that Final Fantasy XVI does seem to enjoy a better frame rate pretty much across the board on PS5 Pro. Hurrah! However, it's still not a silky smooth 60 FPS. Dips do still exist when Clive runs at speed, and although the fluctuations do appear to be less persistent overall, it's not the kind of underlying boost that we were hoping for. In any case, it is improvement, and we're left wondering whether Square Enix will issue an official PS5 Pro update. After all, the foundations already seem to be in place, thanks to the new console's improved innards. Here's a fun fact. Final Fantasy XVI is cheaper than ever before thanks to new deals on Amazon and Walmart. The RPG recently came to PC, but has been available on PS5 since June of 2023. Despite this, it hasn't received a meaningful discount until now. On PS5, the game is cheaper than it ever has been thanks to a meaty 50% discount. Metaphor Refantasio makes for an interesting test subject. On the standard PS5, the turn-based RPG runs into some eyebrow-raising issues, like a frame rate that somehow struggles to maintain 60 FPS, even though the game itself is so basic in terms of graphical fidelity. Fortunately, the $700 system does a great job of picking up Atlus's slack, pushing the title much closer to a smooth and steady frame rate. Based on what we've played, areas that previously chugged, such as the Market Street and the bustling city of Grand Trad, run borderline perfectly now. Again, Metaphor is a game that should be running without issue to begin with, but it's still a decent example of what the PS5 Pro can do straight out of the box. The God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch is among the best ones to date, introducing new options that provide a deeper insight into the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaler, alongside great visual and performance improvements. During the latest episode of their weekly podcast, the tech experts at Digital Foundry analyzed the game's PS5 Pro patch, highlighting the new features that it introduces and how it takes advantage of the console's power and features. The patch replaces the standard performance mode with a PS5 Pro enhanced mode that uncaps the frame rate so that those with a 120Hz screen with VRR can enjoy a high frame rate experience that consistently runs at above 60 FPS, hitting the 100 FPS range rather often. The most interesting feature of the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch, however, is the new scaling options, which include PSSR anti-aliasing and the TAA option the game has featured since launch. These options, which can be switched on the fly, provide a great insight into the performance cost of the PSSR upscaler, which does a great job enhancing the image quality and the perception of distant detail, using the same 1440p base resolution as TAA, but does impact performance. In one of the game's most CPU-intensive scenarios, using PSSR over TAA made the game run at 10 frames per second, less or more. As such, this essentially confirms the PSSR cost on performance of 2 milliseconds every frame that was revealed in the internal documents leaked a few months ago. Rounding out the improvements, the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch brings in its new enhanced mode is the presence of all the image quality features seen in the base game's quality mode, including the light ray tracing for the scene-aligned cube maps, which is still not available in the PC version of the game. All of these features make the patch one of the best released to date, enhancing the experience considerably in both image quality and performance over the base model. Stellar Blade will finally receive a photo mode feature next week, alongside Nier Automata DLC. In a new PlayStation blog post, developer ShiftUp confirmed that the next major update will arrive on November 20th and introduce a host of new features, including the highly anticipated collaboration with Nier Automata, a game that significantly inspired Stellar Blade. According to Shift Up, the collaboration between Stellar Blade's director Kim Hyung-tae and Automata's director Yoko Taro, marked by mutual respect and creativity, led to this successful outcome. With the DLC, players can discover a collection of near-inspired costumes for Eve and her friends, including those designed after 2BA2, Kaine, and Emile. Emile's shop makes a surprise appearance in the world of Stellar Blade, where 11 different collaboration special items will be available, the post reads. Items that intertwine the best of both games, leading you to a more enriched world. Alongside the Nier DLC, the PS5 exclusive will also finally get a photo mode, which will allow players to pose Eve and her companions, and dress them up in different outfits featured in the game. The update will also add 4 new costumes and 1 new accessory called Symbol of Legacy, a no ponytail option in the settings, as well as the ability to now select a specific song from camp turntables. Alright, so here's the deal with Ghost of Yote. Sucker Punch just dropped some big news, and it's got Ghost of Tsushima fans buzzing. Instead of picking up with Jin Sakai, the original game's main character, Ghost of Yote is set to feature a totally new protagonist named Atsu. And here's the kicker, it's set 300 years after the original, way up on the island of Hokkaido. So yeah, no Jin in this one. It's going to be a fresh story with a whole new vibe. The little info Sucker Punch did share hints that Atsu's story will be more of an underdog vengeance arc, which already sounds intense. But what's interesting is that they're really focusing on Atsu's journey solo, so she might not have the big cast of allies that Jin had in Tsushima. If you remember, Jin had all these unique characters helping him out: Yuna the thief, Lady Masako the warrior, Sensei Ishikawa the archer, and more. Their personal stories added a lot of depth to the game, and the quests with them were honestly as memorable as the main storyline. In Ghost of Yote, though, the setup looks different. First, there's the idea that Atsu's going down this more lone wolf path. The trailer even hints that she's on a hunt of some sort, which sounds like she might not be bringing a team along with her. Then, there's the location, Hokkaido. Back in 1603, Hokkaido was kind of rugged and isolated, pretty far removed from the samurai clans Jin worked with on Tsushima. It sounds like the island might have fewer people overall, and anyone Atsu does meet might not be the most welcoming, which would make the game's vibe feel way more isolated. All in all, we're probably looking at a story where it's just Atsu out there, forging her own path. That might mean fewer side characters and quests, but if her story is as well crafted as Jin's, this could end up feeling like an even more intense, personal journey. PlayStation studio Bluepoint is working on a new IP. The latest report comes to us from journalist and insider Jeff Grub, who recently mentioned in an episode of Game Mess Mornings that Bluepoint is working on a new IP. Bluepoint doesn't have any history of creating an original IP, with the exception of PS3's Blast Factor that released in 2006. It seems like eons ago that Bluepoint confirmed it was working on something new, and Grub reckons that the studio's project is one of the unannounced games that'll be revealed soon. How soon that'll be is anybody's guess right now. Sony recently pledged to release major new games every year going forward, and considering that a large number of first-party studios have been working on unannounced projects for much of the PS5's life cycle, we can only hope that most, if not all, of these games will land on the PS5. Alright, so here's the scoop. GTA 6 is coming to PS5 and Xbox Series in 2025, and it's gonna push these consoles hard. The big question everyone's asking is whether the Series S, with its lower specs, can handle it. Xbox Series S has had issues running some recent big games without hiccups, so it's fair to wonder how it'll do with something as ambitious as GTA 6. Take-Two's CEO, Strauss Zelnick, though, he's not worried. He basically said, "Look, we make our games work on the platforms people are using." He's confident the Series S will handle it, even if they have to work around the hardware limitations a bit. For Take-Two, it's more about being on all the platforms where the players are. And if one platform falls behind, they'll just lean harder into other ones, like PC, which is growing fast in popularity. Now here's where it gets interesting. If GTA 6 can run on the Series S, even if it's at a lower frame rate, then it's pretty much guaranteed to run at 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro. With PSSR working its magic, GTA 6 on PS5 Pro is gonna fly. Plus, with the extra power of the Series X and the base PS5, those consoles should also be able to handle 60 FPS modes too, so no worries there. If you want to be ahead of all the gaming leaks and news, specifically PlayStation news, time for you to subscribe. And as always, a like on the video is very much appreciated.